San Uzal is dead. The warlord who crushed every tribe in the northern wildlands, who carved an empire from faith alone, is standing in an empty gray wasteland. No halls, no gods, just fog and silence and other souls dissolving into nothing around him. In canon, what happens next defines everything. He refuses to fade. He learns the language of the dead. He comes back as Mordekaiser. He builds a death empire from nothing. He is, arguably, the most frightening entity in Runeterra's history, because no god made him. But what if a god had? What if Targon had reached down into that wasteland and offered him exactly what the Hall of Bones promised? Would Runeterra be safer, or would it be worse? The Aspects of Targon. The Aspects are ancient cosmic intelligences that descend from beyond the stars and use mortal bodies as vessels. But the way that fusion works is not the same for every host. Targon Prime sits above the physical summit of Mount Targon, where the celestial and mortal realms touch. Most people who attempt the climb die on the way up. The ones who reach the top aren't chosen because they climbed well. They're chosen because something at the top decided they were worth descending into. Two models, two very different outcomes. The first is empowerment. Leona didn't climb to be chosen. She followed Diana to protect her. The aspect of the sun descended on her anyway. Her will was strong enough that the merger was cooperative. She stayed Leona. Diana's ascent worked the same way. The aspect of the moon flooded her with memories of an ancient civilization she had never lived, and she retained herself through it. The second is possession. Atreus is the example everyone knows. The aspect of war judged him unworthy, needed a host, and took him anyway, completely. Atreus had no control over his body for years. When Aatrox carved the constellation of war out of the sky, Atreus woke up impaled in a field with nothing but his own rage. Two models: will strong enough, you keep yourself. Will not strong enough, the aspect takes over. That's the rule. Some of you are already going to correct me on that. Good. Because those two models raise a question nobody asks. What happens when the host's will is stronger than the aspects? What happens when the vessel doesn't get absorbed? It absorbs. There's a third model, the one nobody talks about. We'll get to it. Now, one mountain, and somewhere far from Targon, in the northern wildlands, in an era before Noxus had a name, a warlord named San Uzal is building an empire. He has never thought about the gods of the sun, not once. San Uzal is not a mage, not a chosen warrior. Not a man gifted with any divine spark. He is a Noxi tribal warlord, a man who built everything he had from faith and violence. The Noxi believed one truth above all others: the strong eat, and the weak have nothing to offer their gods. San Uzal did not inherit leadership. He took it, and then he took everything else. His conquests were not strategy. They were articles of faith. Every tribe he crushed was an offering. He was earning a seat at the gods' table, the Hall of Bones. Runeterra's equivalent of Valhalla. He died old. He died satisfied. He died certain. And then he arrived in an empty gray wasteland. No halls, no gods, fog and silence and other souls already dissolving around him. Every promise his faith had made him, gone. His canonical voice line tells you exactly who he became after this moment. 4 words: flesh constrains, iron liberates. That is the voice of a man who came back from this place, who felt the gods' silence, and decided the correct response was to stop being made of flesh. But before any of that, and before the rage, before Ochnun, before the plan, he was a man of faith, standing where faith goes to die. And he believed. The version of him that comes back is built entirely on what happened to that belief. In canon, what happens next is this. Rage holds him together while every other soul dissolves. The whispers crystallize into Ochnun, the language of the dead. He learns it alone. Sorcerers listen to his temptations across the veil. They resurrect him. He kills them. He names himself Mordekaiser. He forges nightfall from their souls. He raises the immortal bastion. He farms souls like building material. Every death compounding his power. Every enemy converted into infrastructure for the death realm he is quietly building beneath everything. And when LeBlanc, who orchestrated the council against him, finally seals him away with her coven, it is not a defeat. It is the plan. Twice slain, thrice born, every version more terrifying than the last. Everything Mordekaiser was produced by the emptiness, by the experience of dying full of faith and arriving with nothing. Mordekaiser is not a villain the gods created. He is the proof that the gods were not enough. The gods had one chance to reach him. before the rage became something they could no longer stop. They didn't take it. But there was one moment, one window, before the rage became permanent. Before Aknun, before nightfall, he was still a man of faith, standing in the dark, waiting for an answer. This video asks, what if the answer came? I'm only speculating here, but the mechanics of what follows are grounded in how Targon actually works. Instead of silence, San Uzal arrives in death to find the aspect of war already watching, recognizing in the wreckage of his rage a host unlike anything it has encountered before. The aspect of war in this era has had hosts before: Orion, Zionia, Astria, mortal warriors centuries before Atreus would inherit the title. It is ancient. It has seen warriors. It has never seen this. San Uzal never climbed the mountain. The aspect must reach down into the death realm itself. The aspects need vessels. The death realm is adjacent to the celestial, and what is sitting in that wasteland is the single most durable will the aspect has ever encountered. Why war specifically? His entire life was conquest. The aspect already has the weapons, the mandate, the martial framework he built his empire on. An aspect of justice, already occupied by Mihira in this era, would be more poetically devastating. But war is the cleaner argument. The justice version is a video for another time. The aspect makes contact in the gray fog, not as a light on a mountaintop, as a presence in the silence. The closest canonical parallel is Diana's ascent, where the moonlight slammed into her rather than descending gently. The aspect offers exactly what the Hall of Bones promised: conquest without end. An empire that spans both the living and the celestial. San Uzal says yes. And here is the most important beat in this video. He doesn't take the power. He accepts it as the reward he always believed he had earned. The faith was correct. The wasteland was a test. He passed. That belief makes him more dangerous than Leona, more dangerous than Diana, more dangerous than Atreus, because he thinks this was supposed to happen. Now, the fusion. This is where the question from Chapter 1 gets its answer. Saknuzal held himself together in the wasteland, the place where every other soul dissolves, by sheer will alone. The aspect's attempt to empower him runs into something it has never felt before, a will that does not yield. He does not get possessed. He does not get cooperatively empowered. This is the third model, the one nobody has a name for, because no host in canon has ever had a will strong enough to flip the direction of the fusion. He absorbs the aspect's power while remaining entirely himself. He carries its memories, its celestial weapons, as his own, not borrowed, taken. He returns to the mortal world as celestial fire and conquest. Still San Uzal, just with the power of the stars behind him. The aspect that reached down to claim him immediately discovers what it has actually invited in, and the vessel is not following it. It's leading. The aspect of conquest. Aspect Mordekaiser is not Mordekaiser with sunlight. He is a completely different entity. A warlord who was always terrifying, now carrying celestial fire, with one critical vulnerability that canonical Mordekaiser does not have. He returns to the northern wildlands. His first conquest is the same: the tribes, the settlements, the expansion northward, but now backed by celestial martial force rather than necromantic sorcery. His army is mortal. Deaths are losses, not acquisitions. The weapons change. No nightfall forged from sorcerers' souls. Instead, the aspect of war's weapons materialize in his hands. Celestial arms, the same kind that appeared in Leona's grip when the aspect of the sun chose her. His immortality is real. Aspect hosts are genuinely immortal, but it is borrowed, mediated through the aspect itself. If the constellation is erased, the power dies with it. And this is where the alternate timeline reveals its first crack. Canonical Mordekaiser's immortality is owned. His soul is bound to his iron armor by his own necromancy, forged from the raw matter of the dead. Nobody can erase that by targeting a star. Nobody can cut a constellation and take it from him. Aspect Mordekaiser's immortality has a kill switch. Aatrox found that exact kill switch when he killed the aspect of war in Atreus' era. One darkened blade through one aspect, one constellation erased from the sky. The host left impaled in a field with nothing but his own rage. Canonical Mordekaiser has a voice line: "Once I suffered a mortal body, now I am iron incarnate." Aspect Mordekaiser would never say this. He never suffered the wasteland long enough to come to hate his own flesh. His voice sounds closer to Leona, righteous, certain, imperial. He believes the power he wields was earned. That is a more comfortable kind of terror. because canonical Mordekaiser does not believe he was chosen, he believes he took. That difference is the entire personality. Canonical Mordekaiser is Iron incarnate because he chose Iron. Aspect Mordekaiser is Iron by appointment. The difference is everything. He is immortal. He is celestially empowered. He is building an empire nobody in the mortal realm can match. And sitting somewhere in Runeterra, a Darkin named Aatrox has been killing Aspects for centuries. He already knows exactly how to end this. But before Aatrox, before any of those collisions, the empire needs to be built. And without death magic, it looks nothing like what we know. The Bastion without death. The canonical immortal Bastion is a necromantic engine. A portal to Mordekaiser's private death realm, where every soul he has ever killed waits in eternal servitude. The alternate Bastion is something much simpler. A palace of conquest with nothing beneath it. The Bastion gets built. San Uzal always builds monuments. This is who he is, but it is a palace of living power, not a death portal. There is no Mitnarachnun beneath it. An arcane machine without the arcane. No Ochnun. The language of the dead was learned alone in the wasteland over centuries. In the alternate, San Uzal never spent those centuries there. He has no dominion over souls, no soul forge. Deaths in his empire are just deaths. Canonical Mordekaiser converts dead enemies into building material, every battle compounding his power regardless of outcome. Aspect Mordekaiser's army does not grow stronger when it loses people, it just loses people. LeBlanc and her coven still appear in his court. The celestial fire of an Aspect host would pull mages from across Runeterra. But the relationship is different. Without necromantic leverage over their souls, they are advisors, not instruments. And one thing stays exactly the same. LeBlanc still betrays him. She is LeBlanc. This is what she does. But in canon, Mordekaiser planned for it. He wanted to be banished so he could return to Mitnarachnun with an army already waiting. The betrayal was the cunning. The exile was the plan. In the alternate, there is no plan, no fallback. The betrayal is a genuine catastrophic defeat. He loses. The Noxian tribes that gathered around the canonical Bastion after Mordekaiser's banishment go on to become Noxus, building the culture of strength that eventually produces the Trepharics and the Three Principles. In the alternate, Aspect Mordekaiser is never banished strategically. Noxus, if it forms at all, forms around a living celestial emperor, not the Rome of Runeterra, something else entirely. If you'd like me to make a more detailed video about Mitnarachnun, what Mordekaiser's death realm actually is, how it works, and which champions are already inside it, let me know in the comments. The Empire exists. The Bastion stands. But now the alternate timeline collides with the rest of Runeterra, and 3 of those collisions change everything. The intersections. 3 collisions define what the alternate timeline actually produces, and this is where it stops being speculation and becomes something genuinely frightening. Collision 1. Kylie and Morgana. They are not full Aspect hosts. They carry fragments of the Aspect of Justice, transferred in the womb when their mother Mihira climbed Targon while pregnant. Aspect adjacent, ideologically volatile, deeply invested in what justice means in a world where divine power is real. An aspect of war empire building in the north during the Rune Wars creates an immediate confrontation. A warlord given celestial mandate, expanding by force, killing in the name of the same gods Mihira serves. Kael sees a tyrant who must be destroyed. Her absolute justice does not care that he was once a man the gods abandoned. The mandate is the crime. Morgana sees what Kaylee refuses to see. Morgana has spent her entire existence questioning whether justice means punishment or repair. An aspect of war who only got his divine answer after his gods abandoned him isn't a tyrant to her. He's evidence. Proof that the system failed first. Her moral justice asks the question Kael cannot. Does the system that produced him owe him something? And Aspect Mordekaiser is now part of the system that once abandoned him, the most uncomfortable position he could possibly occupy. Collision 2. Aatrox. Aatrox kills Aspects. He killed the aspect of war in Atreus' era. An aspect of war in San Uzal's era is an earlier and arguably more dangerous target. If Aatrox drives his Darkened Blade into Aspect Mordekaiser and erases the constellation, what remains is San Uzal, mortal, stripped of celestial power, standing in a field with nothing but his own rage. But unlike Atreus, San Uzal has no Pylus to mourn, no Ayula to nurse him. His survival is not about grief. It is about the same faith that built the Empire in the first place. He stands up. The question is not whether. The question is what he does next, and nobody in Runeterra has an answer. Collision 3. Viego. In canon, Mordekaiser is aware of Viego's ruination from inside Mount Targon, two death-based forces, adjacent, each watching the other. No death realm means no adjacency. In the alternate timeline, Mordekaiser and Viego never intersect at all. The ruination is its own video. If you'd like a full video on Aatrox and the Darken Wars, what the Ascended became, why they fell, why Aatrox has been hunting aspects for millennia, let me know. So, a celestial empire. A moral crisis between two sisters who carry divine power. A kill switch Aatrox already knows how to pull. A betrayal that works. The alternate timeline is not a safer world. It is a world where the most dangerous man in Runeterra has a ceiling. Would Runeterra be safer with an aspect Mordekaiser? Yes, and that is exactly the problem. What Runeterra loses. The alternate timeline is safer and lesser and emptier, because the most frightening thing about Mordekaiser has never been his power. It has been his origin. The exile arc is gone. In canon, LeBlanc's betrayal was the plan. Mordekaiser wanted to be banished. He was already thinking beyond his first resurrection. In the alternate, there is no plan. The patience is gone. The cunning is gone. The man who outthought an entire civilization across 3 lifetimes is gone. The resurrection arc is gone. Canonical Mordekaiser is twice slain and thrice born. Each death produces a more terrifying version of himself. The alternate has 1 death and 1 return. The accumulation stops. His own voice line is the evidence. I carved my kingdom beyond, from the ashes of nothing. No mortals, not even gods, will stop me from claiming what is mine. In the alternate, he cannot say this. His kingdom was not carved from ashes. It was given. The ashes are gone, the nothing is gone. And with them goes the thing that makes him Mordekaiser. I'd argue aspect immortality is more stable than necromantic soul binding, but if you disagree, I'll see you in the comments. So, would Runeterra be safer? Yes. He has a kill switch. He can be exiled for real. He can be killed in a way that sticks. The canonical Mordekaiser cannot. The alternate timeline is safer, and smaller, and quieter, and shorter. And it ends. The canonical Mordekaiser does not end. He is sitting in Mount Targon right now, building something in silence that nobody alive can name. That is not a safer world. That is a richer one. Mordekaiser is not frightening because of what he has. He is frightening because of what he built it from, and the gods had nothing to do with it. The only aspect that would have produced something more interesting than war is the one that makes the least logical sense. Justice. An aspect of justice choosing the man the gods abandoned would not amplify Sun Uzal's nature. It would confront it. That is a video for another time. Strip away the emptiness. Give him a god's blessing. You don't get a stronger Mordekaiser. You get a lesser one. Because the horror of him is not his power. It's the fact that nobody gave it to him. If you'd like me to do this for another champion, Aatrox as a mortal, Viego without Isolde, Aurelion's soul as a Demacian, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to channel members. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.